starting at left guard on Sunday?
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the surprise. Come on, guys.
In seriousness, though, what do you think of kind of how Royce filled in, and I guess Rasheed in that regard as well?
Yeah, I thought they both did a very good job. Royce handled himself well. You always stress that with the guys who aren't starting, prepare like you're starting. And those guys have to prepare for multiple positions, so it's tough. But he did a great job, came in there and handled himself well. And then obviously Sheed had a rocky start, first series or two, but I felt like he settled in pretty well too and did a good job.
Were those just jitters for Rasheed, and did you see that?
Yeah, I think so. It was lack of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that it could be contributed to that or whatever, but kind of as the game went on, you could see him just get comfortable, and that's kind of what happens with the younger players.
Was there a play where you saw it kind of lock back in for him, or?
No, I think, he's always been pretty steady, but it was just like some mental lapses, obviously, but no, he did a good job.
So how often is the plan different versus like an injury that happens in-game versus now having a whole week to prepare for it in terms of who you might use where?
Yeah, no, the plans are, obviously, when you get time to prepare, you can do things that you would, compensate for a missing piece or whatever that is. So yeah, the plans are it's a lot better when you have notice, for sure, than when you go into a week preparing for something and then all of a sudden they get hurt. But again, you have to adjust. Like, that's something you always take into account. So when you're making a game plan, you can look at it after you do it, look from afar and be like, oh, we got too much of this or too much of that, because if we lose a tight end or we lose, a certain piece, we don't want to be too overloaded. So you kind of have to balance it out at the end of the week when you look at it.
You line up, like maybe you just, in a game, you might plug one guy in and just go that way, but if you have the whole week, maybe you realize we're better.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll move this guy here and move this guy.
100%. Yeah, and you can look at the matchup too of, all right, who are we going against? Are they stronger on the edge? Are they stronger inside? Things like that. That also plays into account with who your opponent is too.
We were talking to Dontavian yesterday about the flea flicker. So from your perspective and the whole play calling group, what's the conversation like? I mean, there's some games you just remember break an old handoff to start the game. There's other games you throw a haymaker. What's that conversation like deciding, I don't want to say conservative, but the extremes of those?
Yeah, no, if you can find a tendency on somebody or just see how maybe a safety overplays something or whatever it is, just taking advantage of someone's over-aggressiveness, things like that. That's definitely what plays into why you want to do it, and then it just depends on when you want to do it. So we just kind of wanted to go out and set the tone and go for a big play.
With Wicks, he missed so much time in the preseason. How has he been able to kind of contribute immediately the way he has? What is it about him that's enabled him to overcome that?
Yeah, he's got a good foundation with his route running and things like that, and he's always been a physical player. He's a big guy, he's strong, so getting off press, getting open, he's had a natural ability to do that, getting off the line. And then in the run game too, he's been a pretty physical guy blocking people, so he's kind of naturally, just when he showed up, you could see it, he had it in his body. But then he's done a very good job, and he's a pretty intelligent guy of figuring out, okay, where do I line up? How do I do this? How do I do that? So he's done a good job with that, and obviously Coach Vrabel and Q have done a good job, getting him ready.
Left tackle is it's such a hard position to fill. What do you think you have in Walker?
He's athletic. He does not lack confidence at all. He believes in himself, and you can feel that. And that, coupled with just good physicality, good mentality, he's got a lot of tools. So yeah, he's twitchy, he's strong, and he's confident.
Just out of curiosity, what were you doing with him and Yash? So he was in, started, and then Yash was in for a couple plays.
Yeah.
And then he goes to right tackle.
Yeah, so
or tight end, whatever.
when you use a guy as a tight end, if you report eligible, the next play you have to either be eligible or you have to come out. So that's why Yash would stay in, and then Sheed would come in to play after. So it's one of the rules in the NFL. If you're If your number's ineligible, then you have to come out if you report eligible for the next play.
So you didn't bring Yash, I'm sorry, in to settle Rasheed down early on?
No, it was
That's
just,
all.
yeah, it was just because of that rule.
Why do it that way instead of just bringing in 73 as the tight end?
Well, Sheed had gotten most of the reps as the extra tight end, so it was just doing that, and then, Yash has played a lot, so he's comfortable playing tackle, so that was probably the easiest way for us to do it.
What's the challenge with their pass defense? I realize it's 2 games, I get it, but they're probably very highly ranked.
Yeah, their DBs are very physical, very athletic, and they're veteran players. Lattimore's a very, very good corner, and their safeties are very solid. So they do a good job there. Their linebackers are instinctual. They do a great job getting into the windows of certain throwing lanes and things like that. So they're all tied together pretty well in the back end. And then obviously pass rush, that's always a big thing to help with the passing game, is getting pressure on the quarterback. So it's going to be a big challenge for us this week for sure.
Anything else? We heard from Rich that some of the players told Jordan to slide so that he wouldn't injure himself on some of those plays. Is that a message coming from you too?
Absolutely, yes.
Especially going against a really strong Saints defense, are you trying to tell him, we have to take care of your body, it's week 3, obviously you want to get out there and hype the guys up, but you got to stay healthy?
Yeah, no, I mean, you want to get as many yards as you can, but once that contact's about to happen, definitely get down and save yourself some of those bumps and bruises for sure.
I felt like we needed some juice. Ever an okay explanation for not sliding at the quarterback position? Or you're like, okay, well, you need a juice.
That's, I guess, after the moment you could say that, but in the moment I was like, get down, please. Yeah, but yeah, it was cool to see how we responded to that, and Jordan's a competitor, so that was cool to see.
Is there a benefit between, on the jet sweep, between tossing it and just handing it off?
It just depends on formations and things like that, where you want to show a passing formation or not. Quarterbacks like it because when you toss it forward, it counts as a forward pass. So they like it. So that's a forward pass touchdown for
It's also
Jaden
in
Reed.
the air, which is a little more risky than.
Well, it's actually not as much because if you pitch it forward and they drop it, it's an incomplete pass. Whereas if you turn and he fumbles it, then it's a fumble. So it's kind of the opposite of that, because if you don't catch it, then all it is next down, play's over.
Except if you hand it off, he's gonna get it anyways, so
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah, either one. I mean, we kind of mix it up, so.